go live because there's so much happening right now with COVID-19, especially in Florida. And I am analytical by nature, as you know, and I'm always looking at numbers and statistics, and I'm weighing all the information. So I've been posting a lot of information recently because it concerns me that we are seeing record highs every day since last Thursday. That's, you know, that's what I'm seeing on the reports, and it just kind of made me go, oh, wait a minute, you know, what's going on? So I've been posting about it, but I don't really have a strong I don't have a strong opinion to speak about, because everywhere I look, there's different information, and I don't know what to do. I don't know what to trust. I don't know what to think. I don't know. So I am asking the expert.
Asking the expert, huh? No. Well, yes, I think we're lagging as far as Facebook's concerned, but hi, Facebook. I'm Dr. John, nurse practitioner, and I'm a board certified family nurse practitioner, part of Island Direct Primary Care, and I'm sitting here with Janice. So Janice, you're absolutely right when it comes to the information that's being either published on the internet or being presented by the media. There's a tremendous amount of inconsistencies. And then it gets even more diverse, if you will, when you go outside of the United States and you go into other countries who do a great job of doing epidemiological studies and looking at the data, such as Australia or New Zealand, Thailand. All those countries do a wonderful job. The United Kingdom do a wonderful job of really kind of trying to publish the data. The question is what's right, and everyone's trying to be at the forefront, and that leads to a lot of inconsistencies. And I think we're seeing that now with some of the test results we're getting.
Yeah, and it's confusing. It's really confusing. I had a friend send me a screenshot, which we talked about a little bit, that at first glance I thought was from the CDC, that said that coronavirus is basically, the test will basically show for, you know, measles or the cold or this or that. But then when I got to looking at it a little closer, it was actually from the Australian Department of Health. That was the first thing. And then I couldn't even tell what page it came from. And someone had made notes on it that made it look like it was from that official page, but it wasn't. And it's just all so confusing. There's so much information and so much misinformation. And even the numbers are different depending on what source you look at. So what I mean, should we be scared?
So, you know, I think I mentioned this in previous, interviews or discussions, and I don't let my life rule by fear. My life's ruled by faith. And, that being said, there are some people who are, I think we talked about the devil's advocate, if you will, or, you have your, I'm a half glass full person and I'm a half glass empty person. And while the numbers are very, very similar, the presentation is very different. And, without getting too scientific, and like in regards to the screenshot that you sent me from the Australian Department of Health, the testing that we do looks at a different part of the SARS-CoV-2 virus. And just like any other virus, we call that molecular PCR testing. I think that's a common term these days people are seeing. And they're also seeing antibody screening. And so what does it truly test? And I think the only thing that I really agreed with that screenshot was that the PCR testing, because we're testing people when they come in asymptomatic now and symptomatic. So a lot more people are being tested. So seeing the numbers go up should not be surprising to anyone. I'm not a fan of the second wave philosophy. I'm a fan of we're in a swell, and so we'll have some highs and lows, and even the organizations that I'm with, I lead a COVID task force for MedFast Urgent Cares, and then of course for my primary care practice. And early on, we just had a couple thousand tests, and getting it from LabCorp and Quest was very, very difficult. So we made our own by looking at the specifications to make sure that we had good, accurate testing equipment. And now we have thousands and thousands of capabilities of actually testing people. So our capability is more. So we're testing more people, and that means more people are going to be coming up positive, right?
Right. That makes sense.
So one of the things,
and that was, my initial thought.
Mm-hmm. One of the interesting things about that photo, though, was with the molecular testing, what we're finding is that if you detect the RNA, we're not necessarily 100% certain if that viral RNA is viable. In other words, is it capable of actually, if you expose it to another potential carrier or another potential host, is the virus active, and will they actively get the virus? And that's one of the things that we're finding. So when we're testing some of our patients in the community, we've seen positive tests out to 25, 27, 28, 30 days. And I think we've talked about that before. So if someone has a swab at 30 days and they're still testing positive, we're just seeing a part of the RNA. We're not actually seeing if that person is capable of exposing someone and actually that person getting the illness. And I'll be upfront, I've been exposed over 30 times. And I test negative.
You've been exposed?
At least 30 times.
Say that again. You've been exposed how many? Okay.
3, 0.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So that, that all makes sense. But should we wear masks when we go into public?
So, no, that's a great question.
I hate to put you on the spot like that, but we want to know.
Sure. So let's determine what the purpose is, right? It's a barrier, and any additional barrier provides some value, but it also provides some risk. I think should be common etiquette to sneeze and cough into your armpit or into your arm, not into your hands, not out into the open. I believe in people having their personal space. And so when you and I are even if we're having an intimate conversation, we're not sitting 1 feet away from each other and have our faces super, super close, unless we're going to kiss, And so in that case, we should be just cognizant of that social distance, right? And so when you do that, and if you're not sneezing and coughing, your risk are reduced. So having a simple barrier like some of the cloth masks that you see people wearing, will it be sufficient? Maybe. Can it hold up to a test that actually filters out the SARS-CoV-2 virus or the COVID-19 virus? No, it can't. But that's not really its intent. It's just a barrier between you and me. And if you have one and I have one, then another barrier. So we want to reduce the chances, right? So it's kind of a reduction in risk. Then, and of course, hasn't been any studies yet on risk reduction yet. And as doctorally prepared professionals, we look at risk reduction quite a bit, and we look at numbers needed. And so I will say that with gloves, though, on the other hand, I'm not a fan, because you get stuff on your gloves, you think you're doing good, and you're just carrying it around, putting it on everything else. And so I would recommend taking the hand sanitizer, the little personal ones, having them in your pocket or in your purse or those kind of things. And when you're walking in the stores, if you got to shop, when you're done touching that, before you touch it, you wash your hands, what you need to do, and then rinse and repeat speak, that's probably a better strategy than wearing gloves.
That makes sense. That makes sense. So last night I mentioned on let me find it here real quick on my page, because I mentioned to my friends that I was going to be talking with you today, and I asked them if they had any questions to let me know, and I would ask you. I do that quite regularly, by the way. So I did have two questions. Let's see. One of them, are masks helping protect people wearing them or others, or are they causing more chances of contamination, as I always touch my face more when I wear the mask, which is kind of what we just talked about. But I hadn't really thought about that before. And I probably do that too. I catch myself, I wear a mask when I go to the grocery store, and I'm constantly adjusting it. And, so my hands are all up in my face. And I guess there's some level of additional contamination by doing that. What's your word?
Yeah, so I agree from the perspective, again, no pertinent data or no valid data just yet on that. We're not measuring it, at least. It's not being published yet. But if you take, for instance, the mask that we're using in the commonplace, so we're using the cloth mask. Some wonderful members in everyone's community has been donating these masks and trying to put kind of like a firm ridge so it kind of goes there, but there's no real seal. It just kind of closes, and that's good. You use the standard surgical mask, again, has kind of a firm press where you can, form, a mold to your nose and to your cheek, but you see people also wearing them just straight across. And so using an N95 mask, those masks actually form a seal. So things can't get down and around in it. And so when you're in an enclosed space, and here's the real risk of people who have the active COVID-19 virus, if they go into a closed space, so I have maybe, 150, 200 square foot office here. If I bring a patient in here and they have COVID-19 and they're not wearing a mask, and they cough and they sneeze, the virus potentially can live for about 3 hours just floating around in my room, because the insulation isn't good and those kind of things. And so if I'm not wearing an N95 mask, then I'm just wearing a regular mask, then the potential of the virus being able to not necessarily penetrate the mask, but to get behind it, I've got a goatee, those kind of things, are higher. The risks are higher. And so when you go into a store and someone's doing the same thing and they're not wearing a mask, a barrier blocking their cough or their sneeze, then that aerosol could be in that surrounding area. And so, it has its challenges.
So there's something, just in common sense, there's something to be said for wearing a mask. And it's really a kindness towards others to wear a mask.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's a kindness towards others. I think it's just kind of a respect thing. And, again, why instill fear when you don't have to? In other words, well, I won't say this, but we have a little term in the rugby community, and that is, don't be a jerk. And we don't usually use the word jerk, but it's kind of like, you don't have to be, just be a kind person and know that while you may not be afraid, others are. And so it's not going to hurt you to wear the mask. So why bring on confrontation when you really don't need to? And so I believe that while I am not aware of the mask, I think that, as far as etiquette goes, if you're going to be in close quarters, wearing a mask is just respectful. But again, if you're not, then those people who are mask wearers have to also understand that, look, there's risk on both sides of that coin, and some people don't want that either. We all have a choice.
I guess in a nutshell, right, we do. And we should always choose kindness. I think we should always choose kindness, be considerate of other people. And if we all were kind to each other, then we'd all be a lot better off. But
I agree.
I think I think that we're lagging still, and I hope that the quality of the video is okay. But if not, I am recording this, and usually when I record after I review, it's better. So I'm not going to spend a whole lot more time on this. I want to thank you for spending time with me as always. And it seems like to me, you've calmed me down a little bit. I wasn't frantic about it, but I was definitely paying attention. And what you've explained makes sense. There is more testing, so of course we're going to see more cases, and we should just be smart. I think, that's my takeaway from it. Just be smart. Don't run naked down the street like we talked about before. You'll get arrested for that. But anyway, I appreciate your time so much. You're always wonderful, and I talk with you every week now, and we're getting in a little better routine, and maybe we'll figure out this live thing and start doing it live every week.
Well, thank you, Janice, and I really appreciate the opportunity to join you and hear the questions that your friends, family, and your community have for me, and just realize that I'm Dr. John, nurse practitioner. I'm the founder and provider of Island Direct Primary Care, and I focus on physical, mental, emotional, financial, and spiritual wellness, because I think we need to have a true balance to be healthy. And so if anybody's interested, they can reach me at www.islanddirectprimarycare.com, or even call me directly. And this is my direct number, and that's 321-392-6226.
And I'm going to stop and give you a little shameless plug for a minute, because I love that I found you so much. You, in my opinion, are the epitome of what healthcare should be. I pay a flat monthly fee. I know you can just turn your head for a minute, because I'm going to say all kinds of nice things that you didn't pay me to say. But I pay a flat monthly fee, and I have access to you. I don't bother you much, but if I need to, I know you're there. And just knowing that you're there is so wonderful. It's just wonderful. So anyway, if you're looking for a doctor, or you are in transition, if you don't have health insurance, Dr. John is a fabulous choice. So on that note, I'm going to wrap this up. And
thank you, Janice.
Thank you so much.